idea that trade is good. I'm from the investment, business side. And so I don't want to be caught in a situation where I'm painted with opposing trade or, when you put on tariffs, I'm a big historian, so when they tried to put on tariffs to pay for the War of 1812, it collapsed the economy. I'm sure everybody knows that. And it led to Charleston succeeding, wanting to succeed in the Union because of the port, So tariffs are not a good thing either. But what we've had with all the trade bills is an unbridled opening of our shores to the lowest race to the bottom on labor prices, labor costs, where we're having to compete against societies that have, no running water, no schools, and no education systems. None of the things that we respect in our society as being, what makes us who we are, and that has led to just, gigantic trade deficits. And so my point is that you have to have some degree of governor on the system where you have a balanced trade. Because when you take $600 billion out of our economy and you park it over there, outside of the country, that causes a real problem in terms of our ability to grow. And so that's part of it. It's not balanced and takes money out of our economy. And secondly, on all the trade bills, they just one after the other. I think on the one hand, they can create jobs in some places, but when it's not balanced, you end up with this tremendous pressure on labor. And so while they have on paper these enforcement mechanisms, from what I understand, they never get enforced, because how are you going to go to Mexico and enforce it? How are you going to go to Vietnam and enforce it? So the enforcement mechanisms seem to be paper tigers rather than have real teeth. And so that's why I think there needs to be some governor on the system to make sure that it's actually being implemented in a way that's not so harmful for our country. And then I think the third thing is that no matter how much one can argue that one can get some benefit from these things, trade, and I'd say this likewise from technology, we benefit from technology too, right? And technology has been a big factor in some of the impacts on employment too, because we benefit from technology. But whenever we've had these types of changes in our economy, whether it's you go back to when the industrial stuff was just rolling out of this country, you go back to the electronic revolution of the 20s, go back to the trains. Whenever people are rolling out these improved efficiencies, you don't get out of them by being callous about them. You go back to Charles Dickens' writings too. You don't get out of it by just saying let them eat cake and I don't care. You get out of it by reinvesting those benefits into building up society to be ready to compete in this new world. And I think that's where we've disappointed and let our next generation down. We've been, again, sort of just pulling out the profits and pursuing profit only rather than building up our society for the next generation.